What's going on?
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me for granted and you know I'm leaving. I'ma take what's mine with the webs I'm weaving. I could take this crowd from seeing to believing. Got a taste for blood and my tongue keeps bleeding. From the words I spit, so sharp, so freezing. So cold, behold, frostbite they feeling. I could tear you apart or I could go heal them. Don't believe in fate, don't believe in ceilings. I just need a taste and my mind starts feeling. I don't pace myself, I grind on kneeling. Got lust for change, I just love the feeling. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. I ain't gonna give up. Got too little time, I'ma live up. Head down, push forward through the tough times. Cause anything worth doing is a tough climb. Cause I'ma live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I don't lie at night, I be in my feelings. I'ma be fine, need time, and I'll soon be winning. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If you wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon.
I'm completely blank, aren't I?
Are.
Unbelievable.
You got a look on your face there. Sorry, even Joy's been dealing with some camera issues, so welcome everyone. Sunday
Going
night.
to do this entire broadcast in the dark.
Yeah, that's okay.
What's up? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. This is our Sunday night show, which again, from time to time, goes between a pre-record and a live. Tonight, we are live with Brad and Barry Klinge, the Klinge brothers, on some very important topics, updates, news, things of that sort. And we thank them for being with us. We thank you guys for being with us too tonight. Also, want to make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Also, the reminder bell for upcoming content and the thumbs up. Click on it all, guys, right now before we even get started. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
we'll wait.
and we're happy to be back with you guys here this week as well. Obviously, as you can see, it wasn't Paranormal Tease and her haunted dolls that have caused this problem. I'm having graphic card issues, which will continue. I've been through 30 texts from Dell over the last 2 weeks trying to get this all rectified, and it's working well, isn't it, Ken?
Yeah, no, it's PG. I love it here. Nice headshot.
I got to figure out putting an avatar up there so I can just turn the camera off and then you guys can see a nice picture. I'll have to add something on there. But anyway, yeah, just trying to get through these hot summer nights here in Florida right now. We've been in the 90s every day for the last 2 weeks. You guys had a nor'easter, I think, right?
Yeah, we got some rain up here, some wind, you know. Actually, I've been throwing a chainsaw around all weekend because we didn't get that much rain over the weekend. If anybody's looking for any firewood, get a hold of me. Private message me. Some nice maple I got for you.
Wow. Ken'sFirewood.com. Make sure you guys check
I know.
it out.
Everybody thinks that, you know, you big YouTube celebrities. Nope. I'm still throwing a chainsaw around and digging ditches. So
well,
it is what it is, folks.
I'm living a celebrity life. Can't you tell?
Oh, yeah. No, it's good. It's like break down and buy a new camera or something.
let's get this started, Ken. This way I can log off, reboot, and get back in here with a picture.
Fair enough, man. Okay, so what's going on? In case you've been living on Mars at some point, I want to talk a little bit about a haunted doll tonight, and it's the real Annabelle. The Raggedy Ann doll gained notoriety in the 1970s when Ed and Lorraine Warren claimed it was possessed by a malevolent spirit. According to the Warrens, the doll was given to a nursing student who noticed strange behavior, including movement, and noted that it moved on its own. The Warrens said the spirit was pretending to be a child named Annabelle Higgins, hence the name, and was actually demonic. Lorraine had famously said the doll should never be handled or moved under any circumstance. Today, as it has been in past year, the doll is housed in a glass case at the Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. She recently has been the focus of kind of an Eras style tour, various U.S. cities, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is what brings us to tonight's show. So tonight, we welcome back two gentlemen who share their thoughts on all of this. You certainly know them from their groundbreaking show, Ghost Lab, as well as their series of books and the events they hold through their organization, Everyday Paranormal. So without further ado, please join us and welcoming back to Dead Air, Barry and Brad, the Klinge brothers.
How are you on?
Hola.
Hola. Well, we thank you for coming back. It's been a minute since we saw you folks. You know, you're a favorite of Dead Air. Loved having you on before. So I really kind of want to get right into it tonight because I want to step away a little bit and have us tell you a little bit about what's going on. First of all, before we even start that, I want to wish a very happy Memorial Day to everyone who is serving and has served in the United States military, including yourself, Barry, including George Lopez. We thank you for your service. And this weekend is about, nope, George still frozen. Okay.
No, I'm not.
No, everybody else is now.
Yeah,
No, we're good.
we're good.
Okay. So, you know, it's more than just about cookouts and parades and things like that. So we thank everyone for their service. So, George, what I'd like to do at this point is turn this over to Barry and Brad. Tell us a little bit about the situation because there has been some controversy going on here. So I want to give them the floor to do this, and then we can jump in with questions later. So, Barry and Brad, it's all yours.
You want to start it off, Barry?
Yeah. First, we want to just kind of throw out a disclaimer real quick. This thing we're going to talk about tonight. We're not going to be getting into high school drama, where there's no personal attacks. We are literally just going to comment on the situation based on our feelings and our opinions and our thoughts. Whatever we say does not reflect other people's views. We're not swaying other people's views. We just want to throw out what we think of the situation and call it that. Now, after we talk about it, we're not going to talk about it anymore. We're going to move on to some things. And at the end of your show, we have a huge announcement of kind of where this whole thing's going. But just want to throw that out there. If you're here just because you're going to hear a bunch of high school drama, you're on the wrong show because we're going to talk about facts. We're going to talk about ethics. We're going to talk about things like that.
Good.
Now, what happened, or the way this came about, is, as you know, the Annabelle doll, which if you're a member of pop culture in the world, you're going to know the Conjuring movies, the Annabelle movies. People who aren't into paranormal know about this thing, and they're taking the doll on tour, and they're just basically taking different locations. People are buying tickets to come, see it and do investigations and things like that. Right. But they happened to come through our town, San Antonio, last weekend, and Barry and I know the venue that they are at. Barry and I know, it's like we know a lot of the people that have been around, like Ryan Buell, and he's kind of the one that's spearheading the tour. He's maybe the host of the tour. I don't know how else you want to describe that. But we had a question. We were like, hey, we have some questions as to why you're bringing this thing on tour. And since you're in San Antonio, let's sit down and talk. Let's go to dinner. Let's have a conversation, because we had some questions about, why this is and what this doll is and what it represents, and just their thought processes behind, why are you taking it on tour? And then, we didn't get any kind of response. And I tried 2 or 3 times. And it wasn't just Ryan I was trying to get a hold of. I was trying to get a hold of Tony Spiro, who actually owns the doll. Nesper, who I think is the group that he belongs to, and just through Facebook and through whatever contacts I had, just to try to get a hold of them and say, hey, we'd like to have a conversation. Not only that, we'd like to have the opportunity to do an investigation, what we would call like a scientific investigation around the doll, because if the doll is as bad as it's made out to be, not only in the movies, but if you see how they're treating the doll in public, with a priest that goes along with it, and throwing holy water and having it in this box, and all this kind of stuff, if this thing is this dangerous, like a tiger in a cage, we'd like to know, why would you bring something like this out into public? So there's a couple of there's 2 viewpoints we want to kind of to look at tonight. And it like I said, it's based on logic. It's based on just general questions that we would have. We would love to investigate the doll, and there was nothing personal. And basically, what happened was is my persistence over the week kind of got out of hand with some of the supporters. Basically saying, mind your own business. They don't have to respond to you. And it's like, whoa. It's there's no malicious intent here. I don't necessarily believe in what's going on with the doll myself, but I have to have an open mind, because we've seen some crazy things in our day. So we can never say never. We just want to understand it a little bit more. But we want to come at this from two vantage points. Now, we have done our due diligence over the past week, and we've talked to a lot of people. We've talked to a lot of people who are actually close to family. This morning, we actually talked to Chris McKinnell, who's the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and he was on their investigations, mini investigations back when the Warrens were in their heyday. And he basically kind of changed our mind about, maybe how we feel about the Warrens and what they've done and what they represent, in a positive way, like in a positive way towards them, where he supports everything that they've done. And we have to believe someone who is in the mix, who was right there. But
can
we
you,
also
can you share any of those mind changes that went on?
We
examples you gave you?
Kind of as we get along. There's you feel free to ask questions. We're not, where was I going with that? So
Scripted.
That's what we want to do tonight. Is we want to kind of take both points, and we're going to kind of share some of the both sides that we got, and everything that we've put together, formulated our own opinion about what might be going on. And like I said, it's just our opinion, but it's an educated opinion. It's something where you're hearing all sides of the story. Unfortunately, we're not having the opportunity to investigate the doll, so we don't have that aspect of it. We wish we did.
Right.
But there are some points that we'd like to make, and it's actually it was the catalyst for us to do something. Basically started up this weekend that we've been wanting to do for years, and now is the opportunity. So yeah, Barry, I have so much to say, I don't even know where to start.
So as Brad said,
I think he's tagging out Barry. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, tag team. All right, I'm in. So like Brad said, we investigated. We contacted people that we thought might have a different view, angle on the situation. Family members, people that were on investigation with them, friends of the family, even non-friends, and people are kind of sitting away from it. Other podcasters that have done investigations and on the doll actually, and their research. So we're getting bombarded with messages and emails and stuff, kind of throwing us links to this and this podcast, and check this one out, and this picture, check this one out. So our big thing was, first thing was, if you look at the story of Annabelle, how it came to be with the nurses and all that, to us, the people that are around the situation, there is no proof of that. There's no, I don't think there's, unless the family member has a recording of the interviews or pictures or anything that supports the story. And we'll kind of talk about how this went from point A to point B. So, that was our first thing. Is this story true? It's based on what the Warrens had did and what they said happened. Kind of hearsay, kind of going based on what they said.
Right.
That was the first thing we were after. So, the origin of the doll was like, of course, this is 1970. The doll kind of came around 1972, 74 is when around there, that's when they got possession of it and took it to the museum and all that. So most of these people are not around anymore, so it's kind of hard to get facts. This is all hearsay. And so one person that we're friends with told us a story that this is back in early mid-90s. They were at an actual class or something where the Warrens were present, and a conversation came up about the doll, kind of like the origin of the doll and where it came from. And like I said, when we say these facts, or not facts, when we say these statements, you're going to see later on how some of these statements have did more due diligence, and it kind of changed the way the original were. Well, anyways, this conversation was overheard that the doll was actually purchased at a flea market. Like I'm telling the story that I was told to me. Bought at a flea market. The story was made up.
Wow.
Everyone loves a scary story. It's kind of that. So, like you said, that was something that was possibly heard by a third party. We don't know if that's true or not.
It was told to us by a third party who was actually sitting
Yeah,
at
this person heard the conversation. So there was some banter back and forth, and that's what was said.
And so when we hear that, and we hear a bunch of people saying, "Oh, that story is made up," and we've heard that a lot, our mind starts to go to, okay, maybe the story is made up. We're not hearing the opposite side. Now, and that's kind of the way we were thinking. Now, obviously, if you have a doll they say is possessed by a demon, our initial thought is not that's real. Maybe it is a haunted doll. Maybe the story's made up. You know how paranormal is. Haunted places get these romantic stories that that aren't necessarily true, but the place is really haunted. So we're not doubting the fact that maybe the doll or the situation was haunted. Maybe they did investigate, but we kind of had our suspicions based on what we heard. However, we spoke with like I said, Chris McKinnell, who's the grandson of Ed and Lorraine Warren. He was on investigations with them. He knows all this stuff. And
he knows the doll very well. He lived with the doll. He was around it daily, so he knows this doll very well.
We know that he's had a falling out with his family because he's actually gone on record to be kind of against the touring of this doll and the spectacle that it's become. He's kind of spoken out against it. But I was actually surprised to hear him support the Warrens and support the doll and support the fact that Ed and Lorraine truly believe that this doll was haunted, that the story of the nurse was actually true. And the whole fact of us hearing that it was bought in a thrift store, that's what Ed Warren said. He goes, well, maybe he said that, but maybe it's because that the doll itself was bought at the thrift store by the mother of the nurse. And so when someone says, oh, the doll was bought at the thrift store, someone overhearing that could be like, he bought it at a thrift store. You know how the telephone game works.
Of course.
So we have to kind of more take the word of someone who was there and who was part of the family, even though, like I said, he's had a falling out. He supported the fact that there was some stuff that happened with the doll. Ed and Lorraine went there, and he said something that made a lot of sense. He said, you have to look at the fact that they were Catholic and they were just versed in the Catholic Church. So if something is haunted and something seems bad to them, they're kind of going to automatically go with the demon route. Now, that's not to say that it couldn't just have an attachment of some sort. That's just the route that they happen to go because that's what they believe. And there's nothing wrong with that because everybody has their own beliefs and things of that nature. So if you look at it from that perspective, they put it in what they call the museum, which basically is more like a jail, for all the haunted objects that they've gone out and deemed haunted and put it down in there. But he was saying that, it's the whole fact that they're now taking out and parading it around, which he has a problem with. And this is where kind of the 2 points that we want to make on this. So So let's say, first of all, let's say the doll is completely fake. Let's go the route of everything that was said of this is completely fake.
Let's
There's
back
no
up a little bit. So there is
okay.
there is also some hearsay or some statements that this is not the original doll. This is a second doll or replacement doll, or it's not the original Annabelle.
You're kidding.
Back from the 70s. So there's a talk about that. Now, we've talked to people close to that, and some of them believe that also. They believe that's not the same doll. I've actually researched pictures over the last decades of what the doll looks like then and what the doll looks like now. There's some discrepancies. I like to say I've never physically seen the doll, but there's some clothing issues that look different. There's some facial painting type stuff that looked a little different. Like I said, I can't professionally say that's not the same doll, but it just kind of made you like a big maybe it's not the same doll. And so, Brad, this is our first point of if it is not the doll, okay, if it's not the original Annabelle, the problem we have with this whole tour, it's a fraud. You're parading around that something is, let's say the real Annabelle was haunted, but if it is a replacement, it's not the same doll as before. That's fraudulent. That's not the story of this new doll is not the same as the old doll. So,
and the problem with that on this side, and you're going to find out that the problem is going to be the same no matter if the doll is real or if the doll is not. The problem is that let's say that they're going through this whole thing, they're blessing it, they're doing whatever. They are so in our paranormal research, we've always talked about the law of conservation of energy and how energy, it can't be destroyed, it transfers. Okay. We also have done experiments, even on Ghost Lab, where we talked about how your own psyche and your own attitude and your own motivations can create negative energy. We did an experiment in Chicago where I sat on a chair and where these multiple axe murders happened over time, unrelated.
Forms.
And I made myself angry on a biocam, which kind of reads your heat, your aura signatures and stuff like that. And I jumped out of the way, and a black void was left where I was sitting of basically that negative energy that I had that created. So let's say this doll is not the same doll. People coming to this doll, believing that it's this doll, scared of this doll, believing in the demonic part of this doll, worrying that if they get near it, could they possibly be manifesting something themselves into that doll? It could be. It could be a self-fulfilled prophecy of a haunting on the doll. Now, is that responsible? Paranormal ethics or whatever? Probably not. If you're saying something is haunted and you know that it's not, but you're letting all these people fear it and believe it, to me, that's a bit irresponsible. Okay. That's point number one. Point number two, with what Barry had just said, that leads me to believe that, if this doll is as important as it is, almost like a paranormal relic, it's the subject of movies. It's the subject that, it's a $1 billion, multi-million dollar industry surrounding this doll. Would you just let it go into the back of an SUV and travel around the country? What if it gets stolen? What if someone breaks into the car? What if getting into a car accident? What if, I don't know how much insurance might be on this thing, but I can only imagine that there could be if if this doll is as important as it is. So if it was me, I wouldn't be courting a relic around the country like that. And it's, maybe it is and maybe it isn't. We can't confirm or deny that that's the case, but we're just kind of giving the what ifs if these different situations held true. So that's kind of it on that factor. Well, there's actually one more point with that, and this goes along with if the doll is real too. If this doll is not the real doll and they know it, and people are coming in and they're fearing it, and they know that if you get near this doll, it's possible that you get, because there's a story of someone who said something bad about the doll and they got into a motorcycle accident and was killed, immediately afterward. And we found out that story is not necessarily true, but based on another story. But if that's the case, why would you put children families, people who are coming out in that kind of danger, or put them in a mindset. Let's say I'm suicidal. Let's say I'm depressed and I'm suicidal, or I just don't have the mental capacity. I go in and I think that the doll has possessed me when I go home, and I do something stupid to myself or to someone else because now I say, oh, the doll possessed me to do it. It's not responsible behavior to portray this thing like a circus because of all those reasons. It's just an ethical, I think, money's one thing, ethics is more important, I believe. Okay. That's kind of like our thought on the side if it wasn't real. Now, Tag Bear, you want to go on the if it is real?
Yeah, so let's assume, for argument's sake and for this podcast's sake, that the Annabelle is the most evil thing in the world. It is haunted by a demon, and it could cause you harm and ill will, and it's just a bad thing. Why would you have that and bring it to the masses? Why would you haul it in a cargo van all over the country and let people pay money to come in and see this, the most evil thing in the world that really could cause you harm? I'm saying it for argument's sake. That is totally irresponsible. That is almost, criminal. I mean, you think about everyone in the world, that a lot of mental illness, PTSD, there's all sorts of walks of life that have mental problems. Like Brad said before, if it was a fake doll, but you thought it was, but now it's a real doll and you really think it is, you're causing problems. And also we have an issue with, we have a member of the clergy or a retired member of the clergy, and they're, blessing with holy water and all that. What would the Catholic Church think of if it's truly haunted, if it really is evil, beyond evil, and you're parading around like it's some circus sideshow? I have a problem with that. I mean, it's irresponsible. I've watched all the TikTok videos and all that. I even saw a joke out there because they thought that, Nottoway Plantation in Louisiana burnt down because Annabelle was in Louisiana, which is preposterous. But there was a comment made that there was a picture taken of something was on fire, like a house fire or something in San Antonio. Oh, we didn't do this.
Kind of making light of it.
Poking fun at light of that something caught on fire. Oh, this wasn't our fault. Come on, man. It's tasteless and irresponsible.
Can I jump in? Because I know you want to move on to another facet of this. But while we're talking about this, and this is consistent with a lot of things we said on the show. First of all, I think I echo a lot of people, which is why I mentioned it in the intro, that the object was never to be moved. So it's kind of counterintuitive that you're doing that now against what is supposed to be her wishes. So I think I echo a lot of people's feelings on that. In terms of the doll phenomena, we just had a show on this same thing a couple of weeks ago. And I want to talk about these incidents that happened down there. It was within a 4-day period, I guess, the Nottoway Plantation fire. Then there was a prison break, and then there was fire damage to the former home of Marie Laveau, who hadn't lived there since the 1880s. So I want to know how you guys feel about this. Is this a case of retro thinking on people's part where they're assigning responsibility for these things that may not even be connected? I mean, I'll give you the coincidence part of it. But I don't think there's some kind of quantum entanglement here.
It is a coincidence.
You have to look at the logic of it. So Nottoway Plantation is 80 miles away from New Orleans. 80. It's not like it's in New Orleans right next door.
Right.
You can't blame every bad thing that happens a lot of bad things happen in New Orleans. A lot of bad things happen everywhere. You can't blame it on the fact that the doll happened to be there. That prison escape, guess what? They cut through bars that were behind the toilet. It took time to do that. They didn't do it. It didn't just magically fall off. Somebody probably on the inside or whatever the investigation was, cut those bars over time, cut the thing out behind the toilet. It was planned. It didn't happen overnight. The Nottoway Plantation, we've been there several times. We did a Ghost Lab episode there. When you go into those old antebellum mansions, those things are made of solid wood and curtains, and everything possibly flammable is in there. one little candle that gets knocked over, those things go up in flames. Now, I don't know what caused it or, something like that, but it's very coincidental. You cannot blame the doll for that. And unfortunately, like Barry was saying, is I think that they were kind of using that publicity as, Annabelle may have caused this. Oh, we didn't cause, it's like they're kind of using that as promotional type stuff.
Now I never saw that I never saw that they actually said, "Oh, Annabelle caused this," but they didn't say she didn't. They didn't make a statement, "Hey guys, this is getting a little crazy. I mean, this is a coincidence." Like being logical about it and kind of easing the masses because, man, all of a sudden it is everywhere. And I know a lot of TikTokers were just trying to get views. Let's run this story and throw it out there so I can get some views on my TikTok channel.
Right.
But going back to the responsible part, hey, come on, hey guys. Annabelle's on tour, but this is a coincidence. I wouldn't think that this is blah blah blah. Kind of ease people's mind. If you're trying to, it's almost like they want the fear factor. They want to be this ominous appearance of Annabelle. So I think it's also irresponsible to not mention that those things were, even though it's a very common sense thing. It says it is a crazy coincidence, but it is a coincidence.
Yeah, I think that causation. But the legend continues because this is how her legend developed in the beginning. So now you have more wood on that fire. In terms of, and this is my last point, guys, I'm going to turn it back over to you. The idea that a doll or an inanimate object can be possessed. I don't want to get too long-haired on this, but physics tells us that energy can't be transferred into an inanimate object. Force can be applied. So I'm under the idea if there's haunted objects, it's probably because they're accompanied by an entity or something. They can't be possessed. But you started talking a little bit about thought forms. You want to call them tulpas, whatever you want to refer to them as. It's this general collective conscious of people that already have a predetermined idea what's going on, and they bring that in. We see it in investigations all the time. Oh, a dead sea captain haunts the place, and he scratches people, and everybody goes in there with their head on a swivel. We've seen this kind of thing before. So before we move off, if you guys got something else to add to that, please do.
Barry and I actually have done an experiment where there was a haunted location in San Antonio. It was an old farmhouse. And we experimented with just this. We had two groups of people that were coming in to investigate on the same night.
Three groups.
Three groups. The first group, we told them this house had some. It was a former hospital, like a Old West hospital. Like the local doctor came and did house calls. Very benign. It was haunted. It's very benign. But we made up this grand story about this evil doctor who did violent experiments and Frankenstein type stuff, and the police were after him and he disappeared, and we made up this whole thing. That's one group. Another group we told the true story to, and another group we didn't say anything. The group that we told the stuff about all the bad stuff, they found bad stuff. And let me tell you, we were the ones that reviewed their audio recordings and stuff. Stuff was manifesting, like voices and stuff that would make you believe that something was bad there. Because they had this mindset going in that, oh my God, this is in there, and they're literally creating the, what's going on.
It's like a poltergeist. I mean, pretty much. I mean,
yeah, their intention. It's possible when you have a collective intention, because a group of people who enter a room, even one person, change the environment of that room in some way, shape, or form. So if you're having these thought forms and everything, it's a fascinating experiment.
And the second group, we told them, grandma lived there. She baked cookies for the neighborhood, and which is all true story. And all their evidence was very loving, very peaceful. EVPs of welcome and hello, things like that. And then the people that came in the third time, we didn't tell them anything, and they didn't catch anything. So it was really the power of suggestion, the implementing your power or your energy on the environment. It was really, really cool. We filmed it. We never put it out, but we kind of thought about maybe doing another one or putting that out and just show. It was really fascinating what happened. We were blown away. We didn't think anything like that would come about from it.
Well, it's just kind of like we are the X factor, aren't we? As people, there's no Ouija board that has directions to tell you bring it to a cemetery, light candles, put it in a haunted attic. That's us that does that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me go back to what you said about, how can like a doll that's made of cotton, and buttons and things like that, how can it be possessed? Well, if you think about it, we'll think about it on both sides. This whole intent thing, energy can surround anything. If energy is focused on a certain object, that object can take on that energy, right? Inanimate object or not. In the case of our experiment, the house is basically an inanimate object, right? Those types of things, but it manifested there. The second thing is let's say this truly is a demon from the bowels of hell. Okay, I now have an opportunity as a demon to strike fear into people. They're coming to me by the thousands. They're lining up. They're buying tickets to see me. Maybe it's an opportunity that I can attach to a weak person and do what you take this whole religious and demon approach to it. And that's a possible reason why I don't think plexiglass can hold a demon. I don't think a wooden box can hold a demon. I don't think a cotton, Raggedy Ann doll, that's blessed with holy water can hold back a demon. Demons are more powerful than man. They're not more powerful than God, but they're more powerful than man. So these man-made things that are trying to hold it back, the whole blessed oven mitts or whatever they carry the thing around with that I've heard about or seen, come on, if it's a demon from hell, it's going to figure out a way to get out of there and do whatever it wants to do. But if this thing is now the focus of all this worldwide attention and I was a demon, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm sticking around. I'm sticking around to cause havoc, wreak havoc on people because they're coming to me. I don't have to go to them. It's almost very sacrilegious if you ask me. If you have this haunted demonic object and you have they're charging tickets for you to come see, it seems very anti-religious if you ask me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that if you look at the name of the tour, The Devil on the Run, there's never been anything endeavored to create a different narrative around this particular object. There never has been. It's malevolent, it's evil, it's demonic, and that's the story, and everybody's sticking to it. But there's never been an endeavor to try to explain that away. And I'm not casting an aspersion on anybody. I'm just calling balls and strikes. I've been around long enough. I know about this doll. I know the stories and everything attached to it. And no pun intended. But I never give it much thought until these kind of things happen. It's like Annabelle's out there again. And depending on who you are, I guess you can handle it. Like actually pick it up. Depending on who you are. Somebody off the street is probably not going to have that opportunity. But it seems like if you're a certain status, then please, by all means, pick up Annabelle, walk around with her.
Well, you think about good.
And we're like, it's things need to be challenged, whether good or even us. I mean, we if we say something or present something, we like to challenge us with maybe we miss something. Maybe we need to explain a little further, but I think everything that's good or bad, it needs to be challenged. It keeps us all in the same playing field. It keeps us honest. It keeps us, true to the actual investigation and things we're trying to find. That's our duty. If you're truly an investigator, you have to do things certain ways. You have to. And you have to try to say it's not paranormal. You have to, I always tell people it's so much cooler if you put it through the ringer and it comes out on the other end. It's like, I can't explain that. To me, it's like, put that chalk that one over here that, hey, possibly paranormal. But if I could say I could prove it time and time again that it's not, I would put over here, it's not paranormal. But that's our job. That's our responsibility. And I think when you let people, and a lot of people, not mention no names, like I said here, but there's a lot of people out there says, it's more the entertainment value. They know it's not haunted. They know it's a bunch of crap, but they still let it keep going because it's entertaining people. It's giving me a paycheck. There's some sort of gain that I'm getting out of it, even though I know it's all BS.
But it's wrong. It's wrong on either side of the coin. It's wrong on either side of the coin, though, because if you're doing it for money, and you know it's false, then that's wrong. If you're doing it for money and you know it's real and you know the risk that you're taking or putting on other people, then that's wrong as well. Where do you draw the line at making money on things? Now, I understand let's go on tour, or like if I was them, hey, we're close to the Annabelle doll. Let's tell you the stories. Let's tell you, the origins behind it. Let's talk about the Warrens. Let's talk about the investigation. Let's talk about the true, whatever happened. But it's kind of like, they're going around with the Annabelle doll, the real weird looking one that was a part of the movie, not the Raggedy Ann version, but the movie one. But they're sitting on swings with that, and they're doing TikToks and they're whatever. So they are pandering to the general public who likes the movies, likes the horror movies and stuff like that. In fact, I've seen a lot of comments, especially when people came to San Antonio. They said, "Hey, that's a Raggedy Ann doll." It's like they have no idea. They just know about the movie, and they're almost disappointed at the fact that it's not that doll that they see in the movie. That it's a Raggedy Ann doll. So I don't know. It's there's a fine line. We all do conferences, and we do events and investigation events and stuff like that, where we you charge people money basically to cover the cost. That's what we do. It's we as long as we break even, we're good. And most of the time, we're paying out of our own pocket in the end because of one reason or another. It's one of those things where in the situation, no matter how you shake it, no matter if it's real and you're genuine or if it's false and it's wrong.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, because I know you guys want to move on to something else, and I keep promising we're going to do that, because I'm not promoting anything here because apparently they're all sold out anyway. But I guess this started at West Virginia State Penn, Moundsville, and then went down to San Antonio, New Orleans, and apparently they're scheduled to go to Illinois, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, a few other states. And it says notably a stop in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania at the historic Soldiers Orphanage Homestead. And that's sold out already as well. So just to give everybody an idea of the scope in this wasn't a one-off. And we all heard how she disappeared somehow, broke loose of the van or whatever. And, because those things pick up momentum.
It's never happened. I mean, even Tony Spear went on there and debunked that. I mean, at least hey, no, she's right here in the he put it ease to the whole Annabelle escaped. It's like, but it's I don't know, it's grandstanding. It's like Barnum and Bailey. It's just like we're gonna ride this thing, because like here in San Antonio, I don't know how many people saw it on Sunday, but on Saturday I saw I think Ryan actually made a statement. 1,000 people came in and saw that doll. It's $70 a pop. That's $70,000 just on Saturday, which they opened up Sunday as well. I would expect they had 900 people in line waiting for on will call or on reserve to get tickets. So that's $140,000 that was made in one weekend here in San Antonio. It's a lot of money. That's a lot of people are swayed pretty easily when making that kind of cash and running with it. But I just going to Gettysburg, Gettysburg's shoot. It's even more. It's close to our heart.
I know it is.
My great grandfather fought there. We have family ties there, and so it's very sacred to us. That's kind of where this whole thing started with us, with the filming of the regiment. We've been there. We go every year.
They're also having it at the old Soldiers National Museum, which is the orphanage, and down in the basement. I'm assuming that they're going to have the display down in the orphanage of the basement, or the basement of the orphanage. And the story about that with Rosa Carmichael, which is a historically accurate story about the Rosa Carmichael, the headmistress, abusing the children. One child died under her care. She was put on trial, fined $20, and then kicked out of town. She was never seen again. Lots of documented history of abuse. When we were down there, we caught what sounded like the voice of a child that says, she won't let us play. So it's very, very sad. So now you're going to bring a demonic doll into where possible spirits of children are hanging out. I don't know, abused children. It just seems like that's not very tasteful. That just doesn't feel right.
No, I've been in situations in places that there's nothing demonic, but something aggressive may have been there, but it was a place where they teach kids dance and stuff like that. It's like, okay, hey, you know what? It's time to go. It's time to go because, we get to go home, but I don't want to put anybody in harm's way.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring George in, guys, and I'm going to let you continue on. I thank you for indulging me. So, George, come on in here, man, and I'm going to take a break. Thanks.
Hey, George.
You're on mute, Ken. Also,
You're on mute, Ken.
Yeah, like I said, well, confusion.
George has a face for radio.
Yeah, he spent enough time there for sure. He spent enough time there for sure. They say the same thing about me, but I don't give a damn. All right, so let's move on with this now. You had, some other things that you want to cover on this about this situation. So please, by all means, continue. Guys.
One thing I do want to add is, I saw a couple of people that are associated with Annabelle currently say that, Ed Warren he wanted the doll to be toured around. He wanted it out there in the public. That is not true. We talked to his grandson today, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. He did not want this thing paraded around at all. So that, and I believe him. He's the grandson. And like I said, it really blew me away that all the major cases he was on as like an 18-year-old kid, a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on these all the Conjuring movies. He was at those investigations. When he first got Annabelle, sat in a rocking chair in the room in the house. It wasn't in a cage. It wasn't nothing like that. And so he had a lot of insight of just how Ed and Lorraine operated, how they thought, how they got along. They're a very loving couple. There's a lot of stuff that points Ed as in a bad light. That's not true. He's very, very, very proud of the things that happen. Now, he does not believe Annabelle is possessed by a demon. He thinks it is haunted. Just like the reasons why we talked about manifesting energy, that sort of thing. The guy's super smart. I mean, his history and experience in the paranormal goes worldwide. Many, many countries, many, many religions, many experiences. And to listen to him talk, like I said, it changed our minds on some things. But we always want to check everything. I'm never going to say, "Oh, I heard this, and it must be true." No, I can't. I wasn't there. And I wasn't there in 1995 when they heard the comment. I wasn't there in 1970 when they got the doll. You just got to go based on what I hear. But
isn't that the gist of everything, though? If we sit down and have a conversation, and not go in assumptions and what I believe, somebody came to me and says, "Look, here's why we did this." Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
That's what we asked for in the beginning.
Yeah, and that's where this whole thing started, is because I wanted to have the conversations with the people who own the doll and own the, why they're doing it and what they think, what evidence they may have had around the doll, and if they would be so inclined, if they would allow us to investigate the doll at some point in time. Very benign, but it really turned ugly fast. And then, I just have to just sit back and shake my head. It's, why can't we just have conversations? Why can't we just have dialogue and debate? And, it becomes this whole, their answer to something or their answer to something confrontational, or what they think is confrontational, is you just need to shut up, or you're fat, or you're, what it's like, what, really? Have we come to this? It doesn't lend to your, it's like that kind of makes your argument less credible. That's all you can come at me with is you're stupid and you're jealous and you're whatever. It's like, no, I want to know facts. That's all I want to know.
Well, this is mine and Ken's show, so I don't have any restrictions on the things that I'd like to say. But you got a guy who faked cancer, who ripped many people off in the past, and he reemerges out of nowhere in the center of the largest controversy that's been going on this year in the field. I say this year because every year there's some sort of controversy. But here's the thing, gentlemen, is it is a market strategy as far as I'm concerned. Should we be concerned with regards to the field? I'll give you a perfect example of this. Just on a whim, when the Annabelle is missing thing came up, I did a video. Now, normally it's just excerpts of the show. You guys will wind up as excerpts on TikTok also with this interview. Your prior interview is on the TikTok page. But the most recent one prior to this post was Grant Wilson and his wife Rihanna that came on. I think it hit like 742 views. Gentlemen, I put on 3 words. Annabelle is missing, question mark. And then I said, look, if she is missing, it's because somebody thought it needed to be destroyed because they're so convinced that it's demonic. That's the way to do it. That's basically all I said. I had over 1,500 views within the first 3 hours. That is the mindset, unfortunately, of too many people that are out there, whether they are enthusiasts of the paranormal or involved in it. That it's the drama and not the field, not the study, not the practice of what it is that we do. So how do you go about trying to drag those people out from that muck and really looking at that and analyzing things such as Annabelle, things such as Robert the Doll, going into with full permission into Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Vegas and saying, we want to go after the Dybbuk box, we want to go after the painting, we want to go after the mirror, and give some validity to what it is that they're doing, or is it's all smoke and mirrors, but we don't care, we're making the cash?
I'd say, unfortunately, it is a lot of the entertainment side like that is I wouldn't so much say smoke and mirrors as opposed to maybe it's a haunted object, but they're just worried that someone might come in and try to say something negative or debunk it, and then they're worried that the cash cow is going to go away. So I just don't think that there's a willingness, if it's making money, to be able to have objective thought or objective conversation about it out there. To me, it's more interesting to have a haunted object and say, here's this object. This is the story. This is what could be possible. Let's investigate it over time and let's see if there's something that might hold true. Let's see if we can get something that matches the history. And if you don't the first time, maybe you do the second or the third. But I think that they're also, what they do is to try to throw everyone off the track to make them look like a good guy. Is they say, oh, who's this guy think he is? He's, what he says goes, and he's end all be all. It's like, no, that's not it. I'm just out there trying to ask questions and do the right thing scientifically. It's the scientific method. It's the normal method that you do when you have a hypothesis or you have a theory or you have something and you want to see if it holds true. Let's just stop with the story. Stories are great. I love ghost stories. I love those types of things. But I also know that there's bits of truth into those stories, and that's the piece that I like to get to.
It's similar to all the videos that people post out there using a novelist, and they get 2 or 3 words, stairs, knife, woman, and then they make a story around it, and they don't do any further investigation to validate it. It just makes for a good story. We're experiencing that,
and I want my instant gratification right now.
That's it. That's it. And not questioning what it is that you are receiving. You're not questioning it. You're just going on a story and adding that. We see it in ufology, not to go off track for a second, but, again, people telling a story from the 1950s, 1960s, and they sell it like they own it, like they were there, they were the experiencer, and so all these people across the country, across the world now with this, are owning it. I'm surprised more people are not out there posting that the things that are happening in their life that are negative, they can blame it on Annabelle. Some people are doing it in a joking manner, but it's just so over the top at this point in time. You know what? Let professionals, let people like the Kling brothers go in and try to validate what it is that you guys are experiencing, you're dealing with.
And we're
But
not
let's
saying
get
like we're not the end all be all. We're not like, hey, we didn't find anything, so it cannot be haunted. No, we just want an opportunity to see if something what we may find to push the field forward, to maybe come up with another theory. That's all we're after. We're not after that. Oh, we say it's haunted or we say it's not haunted. That is the furthest from the truth. We just want to validate the way we do things to see if we can find any kind of evidence that support the story, the haunting, anything like that.
But you have
That's
two
it.
groups of people out there. You have the people that like that kind of approach, and then you have the people who just want the sensationalism and the scary story. And it's very hard to combat that. So at some point, you just kind of throw up your hands and say, you know what? If you want to believe that, here's our point of view. Take it for what it's worth. We try to be as logical as we can about it, but we offer an alternative to that kind of thought. And if people want to cross over and try it that way, then we're more than welcome. But we are fighting something. I think that there's more people on that side of the fence than there is on our side of the fence. I hate to say
agree.
that.
When I posted tonight's show on TikTok, I had a picture of the two of you, the burning plantation and Annabelle, and the majority of the comments, Annabelle, I apologize for not asking permission to look at you. That's Robert the Doll. Now you're getting them mixed up. You're not even focused on the same thing. Everything becomes some sort of a urban legend. And so you're throwing your way into this. If I apologize for looking at you without permission, it's
We
frustrating
had
in the
people.
field. Yeah. As somebody who just wants to be as scientific and document everything in the correct way, but let's throw everything out the window and go with how I feel. It drives me nuts. It does.
There's different subsets too within the paranormal. So you have your investigators, you have your enthusiasts, you have your entertainers, you have your researchers. It's like you can't do all of them. It's like you got to be kind of in your lane, but know that you're in your lane and come across when you talk to people that I'm an entertainer. I'm in this for the entertainment part, or I'm just an enthusiast. I love being around scary stuff, which is fine. That's fine. I don't have a problem with people that are into it just because they like to hang out with their friends and it's scary. That's fine. But don't come to over here and say you're an expert and you're giving lectures about this because you're just an enthusiast. So there's different things you could be, which is totally fine. But know what you are in the paranormal.
There's also got to be a standard, and when I say standard, we know that the paranormal is a big mixture of psychics and people like us and metaphysical people and like just this giant conglomeration of people that do things differently. But if all those people kind of came together with a standard to say, if I am psychic, what scientific method can we go through to further the validity of what's being said? If there's documentation, there's data, and there's all this different kind of stuff that if you set the standard, then all the people from the different walks of life within the paranormal can come across and we could have a field. Right now, it's almost kind of a joke sometimes to call it a field because the sensationalist side outweighs the scientific side, 3-1 at least. And because of that, we're also kind of looked upon as hacks and, oh, they're just jealous because they're not making the money. It's like, it has nothing to do with that. We have day jobs. Our TV show was canceled 15 years ago and we're still doing this stuff. We travel around the world. We talk, we make zip at this, I mean, it's so funny that people say, oh, they're just jealous. No, I really couldn't care less.
I give a damn about being on TV anymore.
And that's another reason I think why people might be a little bit scared of us, because they realize that we don't give a damn. And they realize, let me take that back. We do give a damn, but we give a damn in the right way. And we're gonna push that as much as we can.
Gentlemen, you've got some. Go ahead, Barry.
Real quick. So the whole scientific word is also taken out of context. we've been to events sometimes, or like with a paranormal group that's from that area, and they know that we're kind of science minded and we're logical. That's kind of how we do it. And oh, guys, yeah, our team, we're clinical. We also science, you know. And all of a sudden, they break out a couple of cat balls and a K2, and it's going off every 5 minutes. Hey guys, look, it's a go. It's like, wait. Let's define science first. You know, it's like that. I think
look at the
people
chills.
think because I'm using the gadget, that means I'm science. Yeah, it's like no, that's not what it means. Like you said, there has to be a standard and like almost a manual or roadmap says this is how. If you're going to be a science-minded person, this is how you have to do it. Every single investigation has to be done a certain way. Period.
We've been pushing for that for a long time, even as form of a database. Gentlemen, we're at the top of the hour, and you have some announcements for us. Can you stick with us till after the break and then give us all this news?
We can go whenever you want, man.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Nice.
All right, stay with us. We're going to take our quick break here, guys. Refresh your drinks, and we'll be back right after the mid-break show. You're watching Dead or Alive on the Dead or Full Spectrum channel. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Now showing on Dead Air Full Spectrum YouTube channel.
New episodes of Extremely Strange coming soon.
Every alternate Thursday on our channel.
Every Thursday. Opposite. Well, that was weird.
In cemeteries across the world, some headstones hold more than just names and dates. They preserve cherished family recipes, etched in stone as a lasting tribute. These recipes are more than instructions for a dish. They are connections to loved ones, memories of shared meals, and a way to keep traditions alive. In this series, we'll be honoring these unique culinary legacies by bringing these recipes to life. With respect and gratitude, we'll cook the dishes exactly as they were meant to be enjoyed.
New episodes of Last Bite coming soon.
And now, back to the broadcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to our show. We are with the Klinge brothers, returning to our show, which is very rare. Once these guys do, our interview on our show, usually our guests don't come back for a second time of punishment. So I appreciate you guys being a gluttonous. That's important to us. But thank you guys for being with us tonight. An important topic, important discussion on this too. And I would invite you to add anything else that you wanted to with regards to this topic before we get into some of the upcoming plans that you have.
Yeah, like a lot of people have been, coming at me and saying, private messages and what you brought up about, Ryan and Ryan's past and stuff like that. He's addressed them, and I can't. If someone is on the mend, if someone had problems back then, they're on the mend. I have to wish someone well. I can't be a jerk and say whatever. So I do wish that, and what I want to say is if he happens to be listening, or if anyone that he knows happens to be listening, just have a conversation with us. That's all. We're not out to attack someone. We're not out to bring up the past. We just want to know, and we realize that you're not the one that owns the doll. We know Tony Spiro owns the doll. We know Nesper owns the doll. We know the whole story behind the story. We would just like the opportunity to investigate the doll based on the way we do and the how we're known, but basically how we do it the scientific way. And it's not to prove or disprove. It's not to do any of that. It's for data. It's for paranormal research. And I do have to say, based on what we have said, we just don't think it's right the way you're going about this particular tour for the reasons that we listed. And that's the bottom line of it. Ironically, we found out that Ryan actually lives in San Antonio now.
Yeah, we're in the same town. Yeah. We'll buy dinner. Come on, let's have a meeting.
We'll buy dinner. Just let us know.
Do you think that, again, because this is a special aspect of investigating, where, again, trying to test the waters of objects that may or may not have some sort of an entity attachment to it, are there others on your radar that could possibly, if you don't have the opportunity with Annabelle, Lord knows there's a ton of them that are out there, people who have attachments, people who collect in mass items that have stories behind them that are quite bone-chilling, perhaps not as famous as Annabelle. And I'll be honest with you, 90% of the people that are out there right now freaking out about Annabelle didn't know she existed before the Conjuring movies. They had no clue. And all of a sudden, again, that type of exposure just breeds, as you said, 1,000 people going in there and projecting fear, projecting hatred, projecting respect, whatever they're projecting on that thing. Who knows what you're going to culminate from that? So are there other objects that you are keeping your eye on that may be of interest to you in the future?
We're not really on the warpath, try to go ahead, hit all these haunted objects, but we always welcome anybody that has access to things like that or claims, because that's how the field is going to get moved forward. We're not, like I said, we're not going there for a personal satisfaction. This is beyond us. This is us to go find data or not find data and kind of throw it out to the masses. And here's what we found, or here's what we didn't find. It's not for our personal gain at all. It's for the field moving forward. But we're not actually, people mentioned Robert the Doll. I actually met the guy with Robert the Doll. I think it was in Vegas. A nice guy. He gave me his business card down at Key West.
We've had him on the show.
I would love to, but not to the point where I'm going to go down and disprove Robert. But I just want the opportunity to have just like Ghost Lab, without Discovery's money and their pull. There's a lot of things we wouldn't be at Alcatraz prison. We wouldn't be at some of these things. So if someone has the ability to get in these places, by all means, we would love to come down there and do it.
Yeah, and don't misunderstand. I'm not accusing you of venality or evil intent in what it is that you're doing, but you are creating a database that this field might actually really need we're going to go ahead and check on this inanimate object that claims to have something attached to it. And here are our steps. Because the rest of the field, as you know, will follow suit with those who are out there that are bigger than themselves. And you gentlemen are. You were on Ghost Lab. They followed suit with every television show out there and then went out and emulated what it is that was on TV. Now, because of social media, it could be on KlingeBrothers.com and just say, this is the procedures that we're going through on this object, and then see whether or not that's something that people will use as a litmus test for other objects that are out there as well.
Exactly. We like to let's make it a doll series. We're going to go do all these different dolls and see if there's any correlating evidence. They might find similar things of every doll or not find similar things. So maybe we can actually find the root of why these dolls are actually haunted, and because we had this experiment we did with all these different entities and different dolls or whatever. Like you said, that's how data's formed. That's how theories are formed or proven. So,
and it's not just about like the doll. We're not on a doll tangent or anything, but dolls is one of them. Haunted objects, if you want to call it that, could be that. But also things like other things in the field, like crossing people over. What's that all about? I sound like Seinfeld. Crossing people over. What's that all about? Or just the things that you're like, huh? Really? Yeah. You're really staking your reputation on something like that? Well, let's investigate it. Let's see where the truths are, or what you think about it, and maybe let's put some logic around it. I am the one person. I've seen crazy shit over time. I've seen things that just blow my mind. I cannot say, I'm not the person to go out there and say I'm going to debunk everything, but I'm going to be objective about everything and not be scared of it and look at it from the scientific part of it, document the data, correlate over time, that sort of thing. But I'm all about going out and questioning the questionable practices that are in the paranormal.
And Ken will be the first one to tell you. Ken does residential cases. These same people are going into people's homes.
Yeah, that's the danger. It really is. You don't know who you're going to. You don't know what their mental state is. You don't know what their family situation is. And you could be possibly, you go in and say, oh man, that place is messed up. I'd move out if I were you. I've heard stories of people that do that. What do? Now you put a family in panic who maybe financially can't do it. It's just bad news. And I don't know how you can be licensed in something like that, but you definitely should always err on the side of caution when you do investigations of that nature.
Yeah, and the thing is, the very idea of haunted objects is really compelling. And other than anecdotal evidence, I don't know how much we've looked into that phenomenon, but it is so prevalent. And there's a massive amount of this stuff now. So I'm not sure why we would not want to tackle that as we would anything else. A residence, a property, a cemetery, right on down the line. But in this case, we're not doing enough for something that seems to be at the forefront of everybody's mind. And that's kind of counterintuitive to me, too. Why would we not want to put those things to the test as well? Because if there's something anomalous around that particular object, and you have the data to show that something's not right here, that would be phenomenal in my mind. It's like not every one of them, but maybe there's a common denominator between maybe it's some type of energy or listen, whatever it is.
Exactly.
But we are so quick to regurgitate theories here. And you were saying it, it's like EMFs drive you crazy and this, and all the rest of this. And did anybody ever stop and think, well, let's pump the brakes here a little bit. Let's figure out if there's a there to this. And it's something we need more of.
Just Plain old common sense is what we need.
Well,
yeah, and that's the funny when you break down all this science and all this what we're talking about, it's really not difficult. It comes down to common sense. You know, that is science in itself, and it is definitely lacking.
But it's so boring. Science is boring. We need to have blinking lights and phone apps, and that's our field.
Yeah, well, you're saying, and there's people in our go investigation. It's funny because it's like a lot of them, like the new ones. There's some people who go all the time, so they know. But some of the new ones who they've seen the TV shows and they go in there and the first thing to say is don't expect the chairs to fly around, don't expect the background music to come on and it's be exciting for the next 2 hours. In fact, you're probably going to be bored out of your mind. However, it's that one little moment that something happens that you cannot explain, makes your entire life. And that's the part that you're after. And it will happen eventually if you do it enough. It's the law of averages.
Right. Well, we probably didn't grow up that way. I know I didn't. But there are a lot of great young investigators, which is encouraging. So this isn't a blanket statement, but a lot of this generation came to this from television, from the internet, from YouTube. That's their template. It's the sensationalism and the running around and all the rest of that. And certainly not everyone. But in a way, you almost can't blame them because I'm not going to say there's a lack of information. There's all sorts of good information out there. It all depends what you want to consume and what piques your interest that makes you get into this type of thing. And like you say, we're outnumbered 3-1. And I'm going to have to agree with you on that because I just can't consume a lot of it. I'll be honest with you. The TikTok things, I can't consume a lot of that stuff.
And it's funny. My son's 16 years old, and he's like the classic TikTok generation.
Oh,
and he here's his dad who had a television show. He went to Australia with us and went to the haunted locations, and he really doesn't care about the stuff. But the minute Sam and Colby said something about a paranormal location, he's like, Sam and Colby said this, and Sam and Colby said that. And that is the generation. And unfortunately, we're the old guys. I mean, I hate to say it. We're the old guys.
What do we know?
And it's all about that 1 minute and 30-second view. It's all about what can I do on this? What kind of stupid thing can I say or do on this to get 1.7 million views? And that is the attitude, unfortunately. It is. It's just a fact of the generation.
Well,
it sound like the old man, get off my lawn. But
you have, the old bastards.
Yeah.
Well, you guys got immersed in that with all of this because it certainly doesn't sound to me, because we've all been shut down. We'd like to get into places, but the owner or the stewards or the board of directors, whatever, don't want to go there. So there's a way of saying, hey, listen, we're not really about that right now. And you thank them for your time. And if you ever change your mind, keep me in mind. We'd love to go in there. And that's it. I mean, we've all had no. It doesn't sound to me like with you guys, it was just simply somebody saying no. There was more beyond that.
Saying no to what? I guess I missed
the Anabelle doll thing.
You're looking to experiment.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started with the no, and it was more of my persistence to say, "Hey, I'm trying to get a hold of somebody," and then it got us to thinking about the. I mean, to be honest, we really never thought about the Annabelle doll prior to this. I mean, that shows you the good marketing they have. Even us, we really didn't. I saw the movie, whatever. I knew that it was up there in Connecticut. It's in the little box. I knew what the backstory was, but I never gave it two thoughts. But now when you're talking about what the masses are doing with it and how it's make the field look, because I am a part of the field, we are a part of the field, and we have a vested interest in speaking out if something is not ethical, and that's kind of where it came. That's where it came down to. That
It's kind of the ghosting part of it. Our comments were deleted. Our comments went unheard. Just simply go, hey guys, yeah, sorry that ain't gonna happen. And just respond to us. I mean, it's your doll,
Right.
not my doll. You can do whatever you want with the doll, but at least acknowledge me. Don't
Yeah,
delete
and
my
that's
comment.
and that's what I'm getting at, Barry. It was just if it was just simply just amicable. Okay, we understand. Keep us in mind. When you're off tour, maybe in a private setting, maybe we'll reconsider. But let me ask you this: what do you tell folks who are going to go see this, but maybe are a little anxious because of all the darkness? In other words, I'm going to pay my money, I'm going to get in line, but geez, I don't know, I'm getting dragged there because there's so much malevolence and evil attached to this thing. Am I going to be okay when I leave here? And that sounds like a joke, but for a lot of people, they seriously think that way.
If you think that way,
permission, like, what do you tell people like that?
Well, if you are nervous to go and see something like that, then you have a belief in something that might bad happen to you, don't go. Why would you go? If you have such a gross curiosity that you're going to do something that you think you're putting yourself in danger, well, I don't have anything to say to you except go, But if your convictions are, you know what, I want to think about this. I want to see, I want to observe. I want to hear people's conversations. Then go for that reason. But if you're looking for attention because you're scared to go, but you still go anyway, I don't know about that. There's something reeks of that as well.
And you think about it, I think most of the people that went and saw that doll are the Conjuring fans, are the horror fans, are the people that are kind of into that. They're not, I would say the majority of the people are not paranormal investigators. They're just kind of the whole movie. And it's kind of ironic. We started thinking about the new Conjuring movie comes out, I think, next month? Comes out
next month. They're talking. I'm not sure when, but I know there's one coming out.
There's a new Conjuring movie coming out. It's like, okay, is Hollywood behind this? I don't know. Is this a whole publicity stunt to promote the movie? Who knows?
Well,
I don't know.
There's a possibility of that. We talked about it.
Taking advantage of timing. Timing is everything, so this is why we do. If you guys want to, and while I was away, if you touched on this, I apologize, but not to divulge too much, but how would you go about investigating a doll? And I don't know if you guys have already laid this out. If you have, I apologize. But, what are you looking for? Are you looking for atmospheric conditions or something surrounding it? Can you talk a little bit about that?
The first thing go ahead. The first thing that we do is we lay data loggers all around it. We take it out of the case. Whatever, we put it on the ground, we lay data loggers all around it, and it would be monitored for at least 24 hours, with just data loggers that's taking temperature, EMF, barometric pressure, all those different environmental factors and reading it. We'd have cameras on every angle. We'd have audio recorders. We do experiments we'd hit it with heat. We'd hit it with cold. We'd hit it with, electricity, like we've done Tesla coils and things of that nature. We would experiment. We would come up with everything that we possibly could to trigger the environment to try to get something to happen. We wouldn't shake the doll and say, "Damn it, say something."
Come off the top rope.
Power bomb them.
But we would definitely throw the gamut at it as far as environmental triggers, frequency triggers, things of that nature, just to see what works and what doesn't. And we do it over time. Maybe we do a round of frequency, a round of thermal, a round of whatever, and then we go back and do it over again, and then over again, and then look at the data over time to see did something work better than something else, whatever the case may be. Again, is that boring to some people? Probably.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like, I want it now. You're not going to use one of those SLS cameras with the stick figures and nothing like that? No,
because we think that those map everything in the room, trying to make it a stick figure.
Hey, would you introduce the human element to that, where maybe you have a believer come in the room and just sit for a spell and then maybe a skeptic and see if something about the environment changes there as far as their perception.
We've actually done an experiment on one of our New Orleans. So we did a theatrical haunted house where we put a halter monitor on people, put them down in the haunted house to fear, like trying to scare the crap out of them. Does the fear promote activity or elicit activity? And so we saw that it did. So same thing. Yeah, we put people, believers, non-believers, maybe put some sort of halter, like, like health type gear on there with EKG or pulse rate, pulse oximetry, all that good stuff, and actually see, like, not necessarily what the doll's doing, but what is the person doing? The blood pressure went up, their heart rate went up, so all this energy, if you want to call it, your heart runs on electricity, all this fear and this anxiousness, and all of a sudden we say something, we got an EVP, or the temperature went down, or something happened when we had all these environmental factors happening. So that, yeah, we would throw everything at. We put in someone that's like maybe just a total skeptic, like a total asshole, and just be like, "This is a bunch of crap," and this I can't believe I'm here. Just anything and everything, as long whatever time we have of it, of course.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is that we would want to do this over time, and that's all in fairness. We don't want to come in, hey, you have 2 hours to try to find something.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we don't have time to do this, so definitely have to be over time.
It makes me wonder what would happen if you had a holy shit moment where you're I don't care what it is. Haunted object, it can be a bed or a dresser. Let's just call them haunted objects. If all of a sudden something anomalous happened and it was repeatable, and somehow or another you confirm the existence of something odd about this doll or whatever it was, what would happen then? So by not taking the shot, you can also confirm something remarkable here.
It's
I would be the first,
non-confirm or confirm. Yeah,
and I would be the first to admit it. It's like, hey, I thought this was bunk. This is what happened to me. I can't explain it. We got data that shows, maybe there's something to it. And I would be the first. Now, I wouldn't, I might shy away from the whole, it's a demon or it's a whatever. I shy away from that anyway. But, if something happens, and we've talked to people who we trust very much, who's close to this thing. And they do say that they've experienced some weird things around it. People that we trust what they say. So if they say they've experienced some weird things, we believe that. So we're not out to say that the doll is just full of crap necessarily. We would just like the opportunity to see for ourselves.
See, I never thought that from the perspective of somebody. I'm looking at this from 20,000 feet. I'll be honest with you, because again, I don't consume a lot of this, but I'm aware of the situation. And I don't think that you're saying there's no such thing as a haunted object. None of this exists. It is just a matter of, if you make a claim, and I feel the same way, if you make a claim on any investigation, I would like to investigate the claim. However I do it. The best possible result in some cases is to say you're clear. There's nothing here. Your kids don't have to be scared. You don't have to have anxiety. When you're talking about haunted objects, different kind of thing. And I think what's important is, like you're saying, we're not going to go there for 45 minutes and just say, well, that's that. Nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's the unknown. We don't know. But I'm dead and gone. I might show up to heavens like, orbs are ghosts. I was wrong the whole freaking time.
Damn it.
I mean, that's what I don't know. It's the unknown. We don't know if this thing's haunted or walls can bleed or whatever the craziness is. We just want to say we gave it our college try, and this is what we found.
And we may not be so insistent of this if there was actually evidence, that supports this. We've looked, and maybe we're wrong, but is there video evidence of the doll moving? It moves on its own all the time, right? Is there any evidence? Why do they not put cameras on the thing 24/7 and try to document something weird that happens and where it sits? Why do they not run audio recorders all the time to see if they get any kind of weird voices? Why Why have they not? Maybe they do. Maybe I just don't know. These are the kinds of things that they can answer for me if they would talk to me. Maybe they do, and I just don't know.
I want to turn this back over to George here, but just a shout out to Brendan Monk, who is a friend of Bill from Australian Paranormal, who you guys also know. Brendan comes to us from Australia, so just
we know Bill
last summer
very well. He's another brother to us.
We've had him on the show. He's a great guy. So, George, as we head into the last half hour or so right here, it's time for me to go get some more water. I'll be back.
Right. Would it be fair, gentlemen, to say in your thought processes for these experiments that you're doing it as sort of a ghost lab?
We do everything. Ghost Lab was who we were. It wasn't just a show that was made up for us and we were actors on it. Ghost Lab is how we did things, and it's how we still do things. We just had the ability to have the support of a very rich network that could fund a lot of the things and a lot of the places and travel that we were very fortunate to do. But we still do things the same way.
Do you guys still go with loads of equipment, or like many of us, we've reduced considerably over the last 15 years or so? The heavy Pelican cases and all that is kind of thrown out, and we're going more streamlined in a sense. Have you guys gone in that direction also?
We're super streamlined. I think we can put everything in a backpack pretty much. Just data loggers, audio recorders, camcorders, thermal imaging. We have we actually use now what do they call it, Brad? The
body cams.
Body cams. We actually use those for, instead of the DVR, we put those out, kind of remote, portable camera system. They have really good audio too. And that's about it. A lot of people have the SLS cameras and all of that. We don't, if something's called a piece of ghost equipment, or we kind of stay away from them. We go down to Home Depot, Lowe's, or an electronics store. Those are the places we buy our stuff. But that's just how we roll. I mean, I'm saying it's you do you, but I think if you truly want correct data, or even data that you can actually debunk things, I think you have to use conventional scientific equipment or media to do that.
And we have the software. We use the Adobe software for the sound analysis, and all the looking at the frequencies, and basically the Ghost Lab was an area, was like an office for us to do the things. But if you look at it, we were doing data logging and audio and video and really nothing spectacularly fancy. We got a hold of some kind of cool things we could experiment with, but we stuck to the basics on a lot of it. We just kind of normalized the paranormal investigation into industrial standard objects that measure the environment in a conventional way, because it's still going to pick it up. It doesn't have to be a ghost piece of equipment to do it. Conventional stuff.
But now you're combating, as we all are, the social media aspect of the metaphysical and the supernatural. What I'm getting at is, you get the opportunity, whether it's the Anabelle doll or any other object that is supposedly haunted, and you run these experiments. But you take an aspect of an Annabelle, and when you're done with these experiments and you say, there's nothing showing any type of connection energy-wise, then you get everybody right away that'll be in that chat going, well, the devil is clever. Well, the demons, they know what they're doing, and they know how to manipulate yours, and you have no idea how to. Yet, if you go in there with, again, holy water and a couple of crucifixes, and the thing resettles a little bit to the left, it's demons. It's 100%. So it is a very steep hill to climb, isn't it?
Well, I tell you what, if the devil was smart and we were there experimenting, he'd do something extra spectacular. So we're the ones going, holy crap, that thing is real. It's like, why would you allow us to poop on it and, try to, debunk it or whatever?
The greatest lie the devil ever told, so that's the way that people will go out there mentality wise, and really not understand that there's probably more science than mysticism to this, if they took the time to educate themselves and to follow the lead of others such as yourselves in the way that you're going about this. But I appreciate it. I know Ken respects it also. And I hope there are discoveries down the way. But I want to get to the big announcements, what you guys have got coming up for us here pretty soon, and I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah, me too. I'm here for it.
All right.
We're opening up a coffee stand here in.
Finally.
Breaking
paranormal theme coffee stand. No.
Yeah. At a city near you.
So we had this idea years ago, actually. We kind of started, but it kind of went away. Life got in the way a little bit. And, you know, we announced several months ago that we retired from the paranormal. And what we meant to say is we retired from more the entertainment part of the paranormal. We're not filming documentaries right now. We're not, running our Patreon page with content and whatnot. We are still investigating. We are still doing events. We have a Lone Star Paracon every year here in San Antonio that we put on. But it got us to think of this whole, and it's Annabelle. I mean, we're going to blame Annabelle on this one because it got us thinking about, you know what, we can't sit back and just let this go on anymore. The things that we want to educate people by and talk to people about, we got to do something about it. We have to start a movement. We have to start a new charge in the paranormal and really get it back to, I think, what it used to be. It used to be this way in the very beginning, I think. So we actually contacted some friends of ours that are very well known in the paranormal, and we are forming what we're calling the Skeleton Key Society. It is a group of people in the paranormal that are almost like a kind of a focus group where we're going to be talking about every subject known to man that's, debunking things, proving things, equipment, ethics,
standards,
techniques, standards, morals, the whole 9 yards. It's almost like a paranormal watch group where we're going to question things that happen in the paranormal, and like I said, might hurt some feelings, might cause some.
Hang on, Ken.
Yeah, good.
Ken, did you get an email from them for the
skeletons?
You did. I had to get an email from you guys about that to join. So
and they're probably going to have to vet people, so we're screwed.
Yes, quite a few.
Yeah. We had to kind of put you on the other list. We're going to get to that list later. especially the guy with the Patriots hat on.
Ooh,
yeah. Well,
we off season.
It's funny you mentioned that because the thing that we've always fought against is that there's a lot of people that we've met over the years at these conventions who have platforms like we do.
Yeah.
But why weren't people going out and saying the things that we're saying? We knew that they were out there, but I think that a lot of people are getting tired of it as well. That they're very like-minded. We didn't realize it until we started talking to them over the years, becoming friends with them, realizing that they think kind of, we have similar thoughts. We don't want to say that everybody thinks exactly the same. In fact, that is probably the worst thing to do, is just have a bunch of people who think exactly the same. You want to have the people with different perspectives and different, expertise to be a part of this society. And so we've talked to several people, so we can announce this to Barry and I, obviously. If Dustin Perry, he's part of the Skeleton Key Society now. Brian Kano is part of the Skeleton Key Society. Heather Taddy, who is on Paranormal State, she's a part of the Skeleton Key Society. Plus, we have other people as well who they were maybe not on television shows, but they advance the thought process in paranormal. Robert Bradley, Brad Bradley, out in Virginia. I think he's actually on.
Yeah, he's in the chat.
Who else we have, Barry? It's like we have
Zach Hano, who's an electrical engineer. He's in North Carolina. I think he was on a couple of shows. He's very versed in it. He's a very, very smart guy. Actually, Brad Bradley's a chemist. I think a chemistry expert, but he runs a CPRI group that is, ultra science, like archaeologists, what's it called? physicists and astrophysicists and engineers and all these different people are on this team. We also have Dana Stricker, who is a psychic friend of ours. So we want to get that aspect of it. And I think that's it for now. That's the core group. But so the way it's going to work is every month we're going to have a podcast or a stream just like this, a platform where we're going to present a subject the month before. You have all month to talk, come up with your questions, come up with your thoughts. We're going to meet as a group, the Skeleton Key Society, and talk about that subject, just like we're talking about now. And it's going to be to the point. It's going to be truthful. It's going to be we ain't sugarcoating nothing. It's going to be very academia and very educated type of atmosphere. It's going to be fun as well. We're going to laugh and joke. Of course, we'll make it fun. But we are taking a stand. I've talked to these people. I haven't just asked, hey, man, you want to be on this group? Oh, yeah. No. We've had the conversations like, if you're going to be in this group, it has to be this way. You got to stand your ground. You got to go voice your opinion. We got to make this thing right. And they're all like, hell yeah, let's do it. So everyone that we just mentioned is totally on board, 1,000%. Let's do this thing. So it's a movement. Now, this thing could actually turn out to be, maybe have a national symposium where it's not the standard conference where you walk and there's a bunch of vendor tables and it's more of a party kind of thing. No, it's going to be breakout classes, educate lectures and things like that. You're actually going there to learn something, right? Or to, question something or whatever. We're stimulating thought, we're generating conversations that need to happen. They haven't happened for forever because, some people are held up about, well, maybe if I piss off this person, I'm not going to get this gig, or maybe if I do this, I'm going to be shunned in the paranormal. No, it's all out the window. We're calling a spade a spade. Now we're not. This isn't a personal attack on anybody. We're not. This is not a personal thing at all. This is we're taking the paranormal back. We're going to show you different views of how to live. Now, if you like to be the magical, mystical part, that is fine. But just listen to us. Maybe take another view while you're, trying to prove the paranormal in your own mind. But just take a step back and look at it at a different angle. That's all we're asking. Now, people can join this thing. It's going to be, it's all free. You could be privy to things that are coming up, maybe a newsletter. You'll be like first access or dibs on we do a conference, or if we do an event, we might say, hey, Dustin Perry, we have a library in Rhode Island we want you to go to. We're going to have some people there, and we want you to talk about what's going on with the Skeleton Key Society. Sure. So there might be little pop-up things all over the place, and not a money-making thing at all. Zero money. And now some of these events, of course, there's costs involved and all that good stuff. But this is not a business move. This is a paranormal movement. We're actually thinking about changing the word paranormal to anomalous phenomenon. Really change it. Just throw all this out and let's start over.
Unfortunately, paranormal has had a bad connotation over there. You say paranormal, people are like, they think of Annabelle and they think of that whole side of it. Maybe it's more, anomalistics. Maybe it's like the study of the anomalies that are happening in the environment, as opposed to paranormal. From what we've seen, this stuff might be normal. We just don't understand it. So it's not outside the normal. It's normal. We just got to understand it.
Well, I think that there's room and time for a paradigm shift here. And even if that starts at the grassroots level, and entertainment's going to be entertainment, all the different facets and genres of this you mentioned, they're all going to be there. Paranormal enthusiasts, researchers, all of it. But I like the idea of trying to shift the narrative a little bit and find your own tribe. I think that's important because it sounds like the Society for Psychical Research used to be, where they'd have authors and scholars and academics and investigators and magicians, to try to explain this stuff. And there was such a diverse amount of people, and they all brought something to the table. And it sounds very much like that. If you have an engineer, structural engineers, or people like that, sky's the limit. So, man, I applaud you.
This Not is only just the beginning. Yes,
I have. We already have a tagline for your coffee.
I saw that. Coffee strong enough to raise the dead.
Right. You guys got time for a question from Sarah here? There's before we get out of here. Comes from chat from Sarah Youssef. Since paranormal activity seems to be attracted to certain types of emotional energy, have you measured the energetic frequency and recreated it technologically? Have you had better results? So Sarah, if I'm reading this right, replicating emotional energy or measuring emotional energy.
I think this goes to the thing I talked about a while ago about the Chicago experiment that we did, where we went beyond that. So we tested the auras and and these biocams, they actually use in medicine. They use to see where medication is working and things of that nature. And we put it on all the team members who were going to be in to see what their baseline was. We took it at the hotel we were staying. If they were pinks and yellows and like calm and all that kind of stuff, but when they immediately go into this environment that has this negative whatever, it changes to the darker colors. The whole thing about my emotions, like purposely pissing myself off and just working myself up and then diving out of the way and seeing that black void that was left there. That is the data, the technology to say you can imprint negativity on an environment. The axe murders that occurred there. Katie, who was on our team, she was pinks and blues, the happy-go-lucky or whatever. We just walked by her and just handed a hatchet, just gave her a hatchet. And she looked at this hatchet while the camera was on her, and she immediately started to turn. So it's the thought of the object itself, and like the environment that you're in can change, and that's all emotion. That's all emotion. And the experiment in New Orleans with the haunted house and the halter monitors, it's all emotion. So we've done many experiments to that.
But if we can register those frequencies, we can bring it back like an infrasound, actually generate an actual frequency level that maybe we captured that fear is that
that's what I was
whatever an infrasound actually generate in a generator and throw that frequency into an environment to see if we can replicate, if we can actually produce, like maybe it's predictable. Hey, we're not getting activity. We've actually done that too, where there's no void of any power, no running water, no electricity, no nothing. We got a sub base woofer, put it in there and just thump the house. All of a sudden, it just came alive with EVPs and stuff because it's void of energy. So we've done that before with infrasound and different sounds, but we've never actually captured the exact frequency that maybe fear is or anxiousness or whatever, and actually put that in the environment. But
we talking about harmonics? This is harmonic or a form of harmonics we're talking about?
I'm sorry, what'd you say? I didn't.
Is it a form of harmonic we're talking about with this, whatever is forming here? People who are emulating this, that energy is turning into some sort of a vibration or harmonic.
Exactly. Yeah, it turns into a frequency or some sort of something that you can actually put a number to.
Yeah, infrasound goes beyond a train going by and shaking the ground. The frequency that's bouncing in waves that is part of the infrasound.
It could be like my fan. I have the whirring sound of a fan that you can't really hear. That's infrasound. So it comes in all different.
That can make that things like that. A fan going on at night. We look at stuff like that. Hums from fluorescent lights. I'll walk into a room, put my hand. The ceiling fan is off, and I'll put my hand on it, and everybody like, "What are you doing?" It's like sometimes they don't shut off, and those kind of things can your eye starts vibrating, and you don't even notice it. But Vic Tandy, I guess, was the guy with the sword or the epi back who discovered that. But those things can kind of affect you, on a negative scale.
It can also be found it actually affects activity. It gives almost like a surfboard to ride on, like this vehicle that activity. Or I got this this freezer or this furnace that's emitting a leaky EMF. Well, there's my surfboard. I can get on that and I can talk to you and see you and whatever. So we always coin the phrase ghost buffet. Things that are like just crazy heavy EMF. Well, you're seeing things there because not necessarily because my mind's playing tricks on me, but that EMF is there to produce. That's their buffet. I can hang out here because I got all the fuel I need to go do my ghost stuff.
All of the emphasis is on the spirit or the entity. And I think the most under investigated part of it is the human condition. Is there a certain state we find ourselves in that we're more susceptible to perceiving these things?
Right.
Now, let's think about us,
So are there going to be any with the Skeleton Crew Society results that will be posted for others to be able to see? I know you'll have your gatherings and your meetings, but conclusions, will they ever be brought public?
Yeah.
Well,
we got one
want
thing.
people to
We
be
got some
members.
things going here. Go ahead, Brett.
I was going to say, we want people to be actual members of the Skeleton Key Society. And we'll probably put teasers and things like that, but we want people to join. We want people to, and like I said, it's free, but we want, to be able to have your email address and we can post the things and, you can be directly involved. But, as far as like all of the findings, and it wouldn't be a society or wouldn't be like a membership if we just put everything out there. So we do encourage people to join it, but it's free. And then once you join it, you get all that information. We just would like your email for newsletters and, things of that nature. Plus, we'll have some tchotchkes that we'll come up with that we'll send out in the mail if you give us your address. And
so you don't want 75 orb pictures a week then?
No.
Well, see that if we do, we'll talk about it, and we'll hit it square on the head.
That's a subject matter. But the monthly thing is available to anybody. Anybody can watch it. But we just ask, hey, to help us out, to help us help you, join up. It's a little form on our website. You fill it out, and now you're privy. You're part of the secret. It's almost like a secret society kind of a feel. We just kind of why we came with the name,
like the Masons.
The Masons or whatever. It's a special group that you belong to. It's special. It's not, it's an honor. I think even talking to Dustin, it's like, man, I'm honored that y'all asked me. So it's not just Brad and I. It's a group effort, and everybody's involved. We have our core group, of course, the ones that we're going to talk the most, but the other members are members as well, and they're going to get some bennies from it.
It's skeletonkey.society.org. Skeletonkey.society.org.
Or so as I'm calling it Ghost Team 6.
There you go.
You can also go to klingebros.com and just go to the Skeleton Key Society page, or that's on klingebros.com. But you can also go to skeletonkey.society.org, and there's a simple. We'll have more. We just literally this came about this week. We've been thinking about it for years, but we're like, it is time. This is the opportunity. Let's go do this. So that website will be built bigger and better over time. But the form is out there right now. If you want to sign up, go do it.
Absolutely.
The other thing, another reason to sign up is because Brad and I are actually starting investigation, and I'm not using the word events. Like a lot of people have the word event. You get there, it's there's 30, 40 people here. I can't hear that person. It's like these are 10-person events with Brad and I, so it makes 12. There's 10 other guests. We're going to go to several places here around where we live, San Antonio in Texas, and we're going to investigate just like we did, just like we're talking about, just like we normally do. And we're gonna have discussions. We're going to have experiments. We're going to do all this stuff. So it's just open for 10 people. Well, to be that society, we're not really gonna just throw this thing out in the public just willy nilly. It's if you want to go to these things, be part of the society. Join up.
And along with it is a disclaimer, obviously, that says if you come in here with idiot opinions, that you will be removed. Because they're out there. They're out there.
We know they're out there, and it's like, and they will have a talking to if that's the case, because there is a standard that, we just want to throw this out there, and then all of a sudden every Tom, Dick, and Harry who uses cat balls and not, like I said, use a cat ball, that's fine. But we're going to figure out what's the best way to use it. We're going to figure out vibrations. How much of a vibration does it take to set it off?
We're going to do that. We're going to take pieces of equipment like obelisks and K2s and SS method and all these different things that are out there and say, this is how you get false positive. This is how, maybe this is a good point about it. This, right. And really educate people on, because I guarantee you go to an event and they have a piece of equipment. Well, what's that do? I don't know. It lights up. It shows me there's a ghost here. Seriously. I mean, it's like, well, how's that work? I don't know. I just bought it at the ghost store. Okay.
It's a ghost meter.
It's a ghost. Yeah, but like
we'll have our engineers actually buy one and break it apart.
We're taking apart equipment, like buying it, taking it apart, and showing exactly how these things work.
I love it.
And it's like I said, it is no holds barred. It's like, here it is, guys.
Start with those DR60 Panasonic recorders.
He's already on top of that. He has a reason. He has a philosophy of why those things catch the things they do. He's already taken apart one. He's already on it. You know,
it's an incredibly low sampling rate, and they cost $20 when they were new.
Yeah,
you get them on eBay now for like $4,000.
Yeah, crazy.
The game is on.
I already see people signing up down there from our email. It's popping up. So
yeah,
people are signing up.
We've got an astute group of regular viewers, a part of our Patreon crew also, and they do ask some great questions, and they're really involved with this field. And I think they have enough respect for both Ken and myself, and then the guests that we have on, to understand, where you draw the line with the ridiculousness in this field. And we greatly appreciate that. And Ken and I greatly appreciate you taking this time. You could have gone anywhere with this topic. Again, once you posted on Facebook, I reached out and said, "You guys want to come on?" I think the response was, "Let's do this." So thank you so much for coming on.
We've been on lots of podcasts over the years, and some good, some bad. We really respect y'all's. It's very to the point. There's no holds barred. We like this kind of a podcast where it's not like, what's the scariest thing you've ever done, or what? It's like, I want thought provoking questions. I want controversy. I want that's what we're after. That's how the thing's going to move forward. You got to question each other. You have to. So
we just got to figure out the technical issues. That's all.
My answer is scariest place I've ever been is this show right now.
Yeah. Yeah. In George's house.
George's house.
Thank you. Wish you the best of luck and progress forward. Thank you again. Oh, by the way, I never had a call back from Miss Wilson, so I still got to get her number or email from you guys.
We can get a hold of her. She's been
yeah.
She when the California fires are going on, she was kind of missing in action for a little while with us because she was so involved with charities and different things. We're actually reaching back out to her because we're like family with her. I mean, really, she's
amazing,
very close to us. And so we thought this Skeleton Key Society would kind of be right. She has a lot of really cool paranormal thoughts about how things work and how things. She's very scientific. She's very big on how we do things. But I'll reach out to her and say, hey, you need to get on this podcast. Plus, I think she needs to join our Skeleton Key Society as well. So.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We have guests like you. We're going to have guests every month. It's not just us talking. We're going to have guests and astrophysicists and clergy and whatever the subject matter calls for. It's not just us talking. We're going to have actual special guests. So we'll reach out to y'all and same thing. So
you guys are rock stars. I appreciate it so much. Keep the fires burning, guys. Doing what you're doing there is so needed in the field, regardless of all the noise.
Yeah,
Ken?
we need you out. We need you out there, guys.
We appreciate y'all. We have a catchphrase, so it's changing minds by unlocking the truth. Look at that.
Hashtag.
Like it. Hashtag. Writing greeting card. That's my new.
That's it.
Job.
All right, guys, we're tagging out. Thank you so much for staying with us tonight. For the rest of you guys, thank you for watching, and our Patreon members. We'll see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. for Town Hall. Until then, my name is George Lopez, with me, Ken DaCosta, saying thank you to Brad and Barry Klinge. Have a great night. We'll see you soon. Guys, don't hang up. Hang on.
Night all.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, big